Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. It is mid-July, and we are continuing our coverage of the college football conferences, conference by conference. Right now, we're looking at the Big Ten. We're going to start with the Big Ten East, and we're talking with Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com, who's been a successful professional handicapper for almost 30 years, and that includes college football year in and year out. Right, Joe? Is that correct?
That is 100% correct, and the only adjustment I'm really making this year is I traded and bought some more incredible super systems, so we got more systems than ever, but the old-fashioned handicapping keeps working.
There you go. Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com, successfully and professionally analyzing these lines since the frickin' 80s. All right, Joe, let's start with the Big Ten East. I guess let's get Ohio State out of the way, right? I went to my advanced statistical model that I have spent hundreds of hours perfecting, and my handicapping analysis of Ohio State is that they're frickin' awesome. Will they have any line value, though, this year? You know, I don't know. They're not going to sneak up on anyone. Does the favorite to win the national title ever have betting value? Sometimes they do, I guess. What do you think about Ohio State this year?
No, and in the Big Ten, they're going to be laying a lot of points. They don't really need the style points, although admittedly, if there was a mistake that I made last year, I kind of downplayed the importance of style points with the new playoff system, and that was a mistake that I made last year, and one that I won't make so much this year. But look, they have nowhere to go but down, but they are completely loaded. It's kind of funny, the same media scribes who say that when you have two quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks are the same ones who are predicting Ohio State to repeat. Of course, in the case of Ohio State, they have three quarterbacks, but I always said that that cliche is based on inductive rather than deductive reasoning. Often when you have a quarterback battle, most of the times when you have a quarterback battle is because nobody has established themselves as a clear-cut starter. In this case, they have three guys who look like they are clear-cut starters. But again, Alabama was the last team to repeat a few years ago. It is so difficult. And last year, Ohio State was a little bit of a Cinderella team. Remember, they even went into the playoffs. A lot of people thought that they shouldn't have been one of the four finalists. So last year, they had a modest element of surprise. This year, the target's on them. And when you're defending national champions, you can't be defending national champions and be undervalued.
Now let's move on to some other teams in the Big Ten East. Let's start with Michigan, right? Huge hire, Coach Jim Harbaugh, but the talent level at Michigan not overwhelming this year. It's probably going to get better in subsequent years. This year's looking a lot like last year, right? The offense probably going to be mediocre at best, probably run heavy and sluggish. The defense, though, should be a strength. So, you know, I don't know. What do you think? Because of Harbaugh, maybe Michigan will be overvalued, and do we expect unders because of the team makeup?
Yeah, Jim Harbaugh's obviously been the superstar hire because a lot of people felt that under Brady Hoke, they never lived up to their talent. When you do make a coaching change and a team underachieves, usually the new coach, at least short term, will give the team a boost. As you said, they're pretty strong on defense. They're very good on defense. In fact, 24 of the 29 guys who were on the final depth chart last year on defense returned. So they're deep on defense. Their line is their only real strength on offense. Harbaugh, we know that he is a heck of an offensive coach, so maybe their offense will be a little bit of a surprise, but I do agree with what you said. For the most part, they're a heck of a defense, a so-so offense, a lot of low-scoring games, and let's just wait and see if the odds makers are going to be ahead of us or not, but I do expect a lot of low-scoring games with Michigan.
Let's quickly talk about Michigan State. They are the second choice in the Big Ten East behind Ohio State, and you know there's a lot to like about this team, right? A third-year starter at quarterback, senior quarterback, 24 seniors, and you know a lot of returning starters. A lot of positives for Michigan State in general, but the expectations are pretty high. What do you expect from Michigan State this year?
There is no question that Michigan State could possibly win this division. They've got the talent. Connor Cook has proven at quarterback. A lot of experts are saying this is probably the best offensive line in the D'Antonio era.
Yeah.
So they have one heck of an offense, as you said. They've got plenty of seniors back. They do have they do have to replace, though, two stars in the secondary. So especially with Michigan State, might be often playing ahead. At least the teams will have the ability to play from behind because Michigan State does have some possible holes in the secondary. So I think because of that, I have a little bit of a check mark next to them as a possible over team. And be careful. Michigan State is a big favorite. I think they're going to be susceptible to the back door until they prove that their secondary isn't a weakness.
Okay, and then Penn State, Maryland, and Indiana, three of the mid to bottom range teams in the Big Ten East. Interesting things you could say about any of them. Do you have any check mark next to any of these teams in terms of likely results, ATS or with totals?
Well, Penn State, I think, is kind of that box of chocolates simply because of Christian Hackenberg, and you can never overestimate the importance of a quarterback. He was one of the top freshmen a couple years ago. He really regressed as a sophomore. What will he do now? But for the most part, I think that it has finally expired. Look, as far as the quote-unquote intangibles, the Penn State us against them because of the Sandusky thing, it was actually extended last year once their bowl ban was thrown out, and then all of a sudden they had something else to rally around. I think this is going to be really the first year in a long time where they don't really have that intangible us against them advantage. I think that has finally expired. So for the most part, I think Penn State will be a go against unless Hackenberg shows that his freshman year was much more indicative of his talents than last year. Maryland, look, their offensive line is going to be bigger and better, but almost every publication that I've seen so far has them as a quote-unquote team that's tough to get a handle on. So I do have them marked as a predictably unpredictable team. Indiana, look, they're terrible, but their offensive line is improving, so they might be able to win some games as big underdogs because I think, they'll have some success at the line of scrimmage. And look, Rutgers, it is their second year in the Big Ten where they're able to finally adjust a little bit to a much tougher schedule. And I think that maybe they should benefit from that. But all in all, it's a two-team conference, but I do think there are at least some decent trends to look for, and especially of these also rounds. I think Penn State to be overvalued is probably the biggest check mark I got right now.
All right, Joe Duffy, thanks for your thoughts. I think my biggest check mark as of right now, these things change in the Big Ten East, would be fade Michigan and unders with Michigan as well. Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com. Thanks so much.